What is going on, Diablo 2 fans? Dobrunsky here, and I'm back with another Diablo 2 build video. But today I'm going to be breaking down the Tesladin, or the Dual Dream Paladin, whatever you prefer to call it. This character is probably my new favorite melee build in the game. It is extremely versatile in how you spec it, and it actually performs very well. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say it's better than a pure Zealer, and I think it's probably better than a pure Frenzy Barb or Whirlwind Barb in terms of actual damage output. You guys can judge for yourself when you see the gameplay, but I was streaming this character live on Twitch. Thank you for everybody who helped me kind of theory craft and sort of tweak this build and get it completely optimized for Baal running. If you guys ever want to hang out with me when I'm streaming live, I stream twice a week on Twitch. Link is of course in the description below, twitch.com/Dobrunsky125. If you guys give me a follow there, I'd really appreciate it. But guys, like all of my previous build videos, timestamps will be in the description below, so if you guys want to bounce back and forth between the attributes, the skill tree, the gear, or the gameplay, they're there for you guys to use, so please take advantage of them. Other than that, guys, I really do hope you enjoy this video. Let's jump in.
You're too late.
So there's really only one point that I want to cover specifically for the Tesladin before I go over the attributes, the skill tree, and the gear, and that is versatility. There is so many different ways to spec this build, and there really is no right or wrong. It kind of just depends on if you want to take the approach of completely maximizing your lightning damage, going 50-50 split between lightning and physical, or mostly relying on physical damage with elemental supplemental support. So with that being said, there's probably going to be kind of three main ways of running the build and your mercenary, and the first would be using a conviction aura and then relying on a Reaper's Toll mercenary. The second is most likely going to be you are using a fanaticism aura and then having an infinity mercenary, so that way you still get the conviction and the fanaticism support. Or the third approach would be you using conviction yourself and then using an Act 1 faith mercenary. Now all of these build approaches, they do have their pros and cons, but I really don't think one is better than the other. I think they're all completely viable. But really, to cover every single one, it's just too much for one video. So today's build guide is just going to be using Conviction Aura on the Paladin and then a Reaper's Toll Mercenary for that Decrep proc. Kind of balance our physical and our lightning damage kind of 50-50 down the middle. But I do plan on covering the different iterations of this build in the future. So starting off with the attribute distribution for this Tesladin, I wanted to have enough dexterity to get max block with Holy Shield and Battle Command, which the number will vary a little bit depending on the shield that you're using and your plus skills, but for me it was 177 dexterity points to get 75% max block, and then I have 320 points into vitality, which is enough to get 2.5k health after CTA buff. Now I think that anywhere from 2.5 to 3,000 health is solid. Going upwards to kind of like 4k health is overkill. I don't think you need it. And for energy, I have nothing invested. For strength, I have 297 points. I am using Enigma, so that number does look a little bit inflated, but that's just for more raw physical damage, because I kind of took the approach of going 50% elemental and 50% physical. And then for my resistances, I have 75 fire, 50 cold, 85 lightning, and 37 poison, which is pretty solid for Baal running. The poison is a little bit low, but I do use the aura cleansing to kind of cancel out poison and curses, which you guys will see more when we go over the skill tree and the gameplay. But overall, I think a very solid build, really good, like raw physical damage, elemental support, decent life, and then very high resistances across the board, or at least the important ones. So I do think it's a really solid Baal running spec. For the defensive skill tree, I started off by first investing 1 hard point into prayer and then 1 hard point into cleansing. Now I think if you're doing traditional sort of like Chaos Sanctuary farming or the pits or just all over the place, I don't think you really need 1 point into cleansing, but for Baal running specifically, it is very nice. It reduces the duration that you are poisoned and cursed, which is really good for getting rid of the Decrep aura that Baal puts on you between Baal waves or the poison from wave 2, so that's the reason why I have 1 hard point into cleansing. And then a completely maxed Resist Lightning and Max Salvation, because those are both synergies to boost the Holy Shock damage on the two dreams, the Dream Helmet and the Dream Shield, so that's why they're completely maxed out. Then for the offensive auras, I have 1 hard point into Might, 1 into Holy Fire and Thorns, 1 into Holy Freeze, 1 into Sanctuary to unlock Conviction. Now this is really important. You want to make sure that you have minus 145 res on your main hand, and then that is because Conviction itself maxes out at 150, but the reason why you want to go to 145 is that Battle Command gives you 1 more skill, which boosts you to minus 150, so 24 skill points is going to be enough, and then 25th from Battle Command gives you that completely maxed out minus resistance from Conviction. And then for the combat skills, this is going to be kind of a little bit backwards. I tried doing a full decked out Holy Shield spec, and then I actually prefer this setup, but I have 1 into Smite, 1 into Holy Bolt, 1 into Charge, and then 1 into Blessed Hammer. and then 1 into Holy Shield, and then I turned around and put first 1 hard point into Zeal, then a completely maxed Sacrifice. That's because Sacrifice, every hard point is actually more damage than additional points to Zeal. And then I put all of my remaining points into Zeal, so I got a little bit higher attack rating bonus and extra damage. Now, I did play around with having 20 hard points into Holy Shield and then dividing my remaining points into Sacrifice. I think that you're going to have, like, it's really easy to get max block anyway, so the difference between having kind of 1 hard point into Holy Shield versus completely maxed is like a blocking difference of 30 to 37, and then just extra duration and defense bonus, but you already have tons of defense. And the duration is not that big a deal if you're just recasting it every time you rebuff yourself with Battle Command and Battle Orders, so that's why I went 1 hard point into Holy Shield, but I did want to mention that you can absolutely max Holy Shield first, and then put your remaining points into Sacrifice and Zeal, depending on if you want a little bit more damage or more defense bonus and a longer duration that you can actually cast Holy Shield for. So for the gear for this Dual Dream Paladin or Tesladin, you guys have probably guessed it already, so I have Dream in a helmet and then Dream in a shield. Now, as long as you have a really good 3 open socket Paladin shield with a lot of all res, I don't think it matters too much on the base that you're using. There is the argument that some exceptional shields are better than elite, and vice versa, depending on if it's like a royal shield versus a vortex shield or a sacred rondash, etc. As long as you have 3 open sockets with a lot of all res, I think it's a solid candidate to make the rumored dream. But the whole idea behind this build is stacking the 2 level 15 Holy Shock ores together to get level 30, and then synergizing it with Resist Lightning and Salvation for more damage. Now for the rest of the gear, I'm using Grief and a Phase Blade, and then I paired that with Laying of Hands and High Lords. Now it's really important, since I don't have a Fanaticism aura, that I hit 72 IS with a Phase Blade to get the max Zeal IS breakpoint. Now, if you're using Fanaticism aura, or you have supplemental Fanaticism from like an Act 1 Faith Mercenary, you don't have to worry too much about your IS gear, but you definitely do with the setup that I have. But I hit that 72 breakpoint no problem. Again, 40 on Grief, 20 on Laying of Hands, and then 20 with High Lords. And then I have Enigma for the body armor. You could go Fortitude if you want more raw physical damage, but I like teleporting, and I think that because a lot of your damage support is coming from lightning sources, that I don't think Fortitude is even a better choice. Again, I like teleporting, that's me, so I'm using Enigma. Then for the boots, Core Riders for Crushing Blow, Deadly Strike, and Open Wounds. And Ravenfrost for Dexterity and Cannot Be Frozen. Now for the belt, I'm using Arachnid's Mesh. This might seem a little bit backwards that I'm not using String of Ears, but it'll kind of make sense when I talk about the offhand gear. And then I have a dual leech ring with 9 strength and all 4 resistances. Now the offhand, I have CTA, a 462 CTA, and then I have a 35 FCR Spirit and a Sacred Rondash. Now the reason why I'm using Arax is because I have 35 FCR with Spirit, 20 with Arachnid's Mesh, and then on my cube here, or in my cube, excuse me, I switch between High Lords and this 220 Caster Amulet to get a quicker, to get a higher FCR breakpoint when I'm teleporting down to Baal. So this gives me 75 IS, 20, 20, and 35. And then once I get down to the throne room, I'll just swap out High Lords again, just like that. So I have my IS breakpoint and more damage. It's just a cool little swap there to get a faster teleporting breakpoint. And then for the rest of the gear, I just have different assorted max damage AR Life GCs, and then max damage AR Life Small Charms, and then I have a Geed's Grand Charm, and a Torch, and an Annie. Now a Geed's Grand Charm might seem a little bit weird, but I do have 95 MF on Enigma, 40 with the Geeds, and then I have 22 with the Shield, and then 13 with the Bone Visage, or the Dream and the Bone Visage Helmet. So it's just a way of stacking some additional MF. I didn't really notice a clear speed difference, dropping the 1 Geed's Grand Charm for an additional max damage AR Life GC, so why not stack a little bit extra MF if I can? And then for the Mercenaries gear, I'm using Treachery, G-Face with a Ruby Jewel Fervor, and then an Ethereal Reaper's Toll with a Ruby Jewel Fervor. This makes sure he hits the 75 IS breakpoint. And then it is also a Act 2 Nightmare Defensive Mercenary, which might seem a little bit backwards. Why didn't you go Might for more damage? Well, a lot of my damage for the Tesladin is coming from lightning, so I thought it was kind of cool to stack Decrep procs with Holy Freeze. It's almost like the minions that I'm, like the Baal Waves and stuff, and Baal himself, they're almost like they're attacking underwater, because the slowdown from Holy Freeze and the slowdown with Decrep, it just really is nice in terms of like survivability. Although if you did want to go more damage output, you could absolutely hire an Act 2 Offensive Mercenary from Nightmare. That would be a pretty big substantial damage output for your character, as well as for your mercenary. But seeing as a lot of the sources of damage for the Tesladin comes from lightning versus physical, I thought it was kind of cool to take this sort of more defensive-based approach. So I want to showcase this build doing a full Baal Run start to finish. We'll go down on players 1, jump it to players 7 for the Baal waves, and then down to players 3 again for Baal. His experience is capped out at players 3 if you didn't know. Now I do like to do this little kind of pre-buff at the start of every run. You don't need to do this, but the enchant gives you a little bit extra AR and a tiny bit of fire damage. Now, when you go to the Worldstone Keep, want to make sure that you cast Battle Lords and Battle Command with High Lords because that gives you 1 additional skill. So just a tiny little bit more extra life. And then I switch to 220 Caster Amulet. Just to get a little bit faster FCR. Kind of like we're teleporting like a 75 FCR each gen, which I know you guys love your 125. You don't like 75, but I think it's pretty cool that as kind of a Tesladin Zealer, I can get down to the throne room really quickly. As soon as you get here, switch to High Lords again, get that IS breakpoint, an additional deadly strike. Now we'll just clear everything on players 1. Succubi. Hell Witch, whatever you want to call them. These guys are so annoying. So we'll get them cleared out. Now, see I have amp damage, but I switched to cleansing, and that will reduce the duration that I have that curse. So that's kind of that nice little 1.1er that was suggested by chat. Also works for poison and wave 2. And, okay, this is accidentally a player's 1 wave. I didn't switch it to player 7. I'll do it for the next one. So player 7, Holy Shield, Battle Lords, Battle Command, and then switch to cleansing, even though the aura is already gone. Just a nice way to cancel out poison and that Decrep Curse. Now this wave is really going to be slow because the mercenary is going to get slowed down from cold damage and Decrep, so he kind of attacks like he's underwater, and then I don't get as much raw physical damage from Decrep. Just Telly Stomp and try and take these guys out one by one. Okay, they're down. Did I see a Servant drop? Oh, Alvern. That was crazy. Small Charm. But anyways, so I can switch to cleansing here to try and reduce the poison. And then Telly Stomp again, and switch to the main hand. I was a little bit slow there with checking loot, but it's a really cool suggestion using cleansing as a 1-point wonder for Baal running specifically. This here, switch to the offhand, switch to cleansing. It's gonna knock that curse off way quicker than what it normally would be. And do a little rebuff. Oh, he casted us on us again. So wave 4 and 5, I suggest trying to pull them. Hopefully you have good monster AI. Try and pull them away from Baal so you don't get decrept. And then Telly Stomp and attack on the main hand. Now this is a really cool showcase here. Look at these guys Holy Freezed and decrept. Just look at how slow they attack. And then confused, override it, but they literally attack like they're underwater. It's insane. That's the reason why I went that route. Might would be more damage, but I really do think that's really cool in terms of survivability. Now you don't have to do the little worry about cleansing to cancel out the curses. It really is only like a minor thing for the first 3 waves, because if you draw these waves back, you don't have to worry about it at all. But again, we want to pull it back so we don't get decrept from Baal. And then Telly Stomp and Zeal away. I just think the survivability is insane with Holy Freeze and Decrep going off at the same time. I think it's worth the trade-off of a little bit of like raw physical damage when you have a lot of elemental support. But I mean, that was a player 7 Lister just done. And here's amp damage. Let's cancel it off with cleansing really quickly. So pre-buff, let's just check for loot. Small Charm, anything else? Nope. Now we'll go down to players 3 for Baal because his experience is capped out. Quick little rebuff. Now, when you go to attack Baal, when the Holy Freeze procs on him, and then if the Mercenary can get Decrep, you'll actually see Baal can't teleport, which is really nice because that can be super annoying when Baal... So right here, boom. Holy Freeze Decrep right away. He cannot move now. He's stuck. Basically just Zeal away. and he's done. Like, he's just over. It's a players 7 Baal wave, players 3 Baal kill with the Tesladin. I don't know. I think it's one of the strongest and most underrated melee builds in the game. Like, you just saw players 7 Baal waves and then players 3 Baal, just like that. Like, no hesitation at all, with the only little bit of slowdown being wave number 2. And then again, there's different ways you can tailor it, but I think using the Holy Freeze Mercenary Decrep is super nice for that like kind of safety net and crowd control. Well guys, there you have it. That wraps up today's video. Is a breakdown of the Tesladin. Like I said, there's numerous ways to spec this build, whether you want to use Fanaticism yourself, Conviction, or use a Reaper's Toll Mercenary or an Act 1 Faith Merc. Definitely going to be expanding on this character build in the future with a couple different setups, but let me know in the comment section below if you guys agree with how I built this character or you completely disagree. Feedback is totally welcome. And as always, if you could throw a like on this video, share it, and even consider subscribing if you're new to my channel. I post new weekly content on YouTube and I stream twice a week on Twitch, so a follow on Twitch and a sub on YouTube would be amazing. Other than that guys, hope you have a fan-frickin-tastic day, and I'll catch you on my next video or live stream. Peace out.